Hello and welcome to another edition of Soulivity Live, everyone. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I am so glad that you joined us. We have such a great show for you today. But before I get into today's show, I want to once again thank our guests from last week's show, internationally renowned speaker and author Howard Caesar and wellness expert Michaela Cruz. It was truly an amazing show. And if you missed it, you can still see it by going to our website, soulivity.com, and watching it on Soulivity TV, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So go get inspired, okay? So let's get to today's amazing show. One of the reasons why I publish Soulivity magazine is to put forth in an honest way the idea that you can really live your dreams, your purpose, and your passion, and be happy, actually happy doing it. And though it can be difficult and challenging, it is no less than real for each and every one of us. And I want to introduce people who have and are living their dreams today in an attempt to support you in getting inspired and energized to be all that you are meant to be in your own life. My first guest is one of these people. Sherice Torres is an inspirational leader with nearly 25 years of experience in marketing, brand and product management, strategic planning, change management, and organizational development. She currently serves as marketing director in Google's Brand Studio and partly responsible for creating programs to illustrate Google's values in areas of crisis response and environment. She also spent time at Nickelodeon, the #1 network for kids ages 2 through 11 in the United States, in a variety of leadership roles with multi-billion-dollar P&Ls covering consumer products, strategic planning, and digital. And most importantly, she's also the mother of 2 boys with a passion of revitalizing the public education system in the United States. She serves as board member for Breakthrough Silicon Valley, a nonprofit empowering high potential students from underserved schools in San Jose, California, helping them prepare for and gain entrance to four-year universities. She's an advisor and former board member of the Global Language Project, a nonprofit bringing language learning to urban schools. So with that, it is my pleasure to bring to you and bring to Soulivity Live, Sherice Torres. Hey, Sherice, how are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning. How are you?
Oh, I am fabulous with you here and our next guest who's also here. This is an amazing show for me. I always like to bring people who are living their purpose and passion on to the show because you serve as examples, right? You have these journeys and challenges, ups and downs, peaks and valleys, and you can inspire other people to do the same thing. So, listen, everybody, we love your questions. So, on the live feeds, on our social media, if you have any questions during the show for either one of our guests, please just post them and we'll get to them during over the next hour or so. So, Sherice, first, this is a question that I'm going to actually ask both of my guests today. What's it like for you to hear the accomplishments that you've had when someone else is actually doing it, like reading it forward to you, like you're hearing it? Is it surreal for you? What's it like?
It's interesting because that's exactly what was going through my mind. I was like, oh, I did do that. And it's incredible to look back across your journey. I think when you're in the middle of it, you're focused on what's ahead of you. Yes, you may be thinking about plans a few years down the line, but typically when you're in it, that's where your focus is. So it is really beautiful to be able to hear my journey read back to me and think through all of the steps that it took to get there and all of the growth that I had along the way.
Wow. Um, Now, your career spans many years across many disciplines in your field.
Mm.
When was that moment, right? I mean, we all have like this specific moment where, yeah, this is it for me. and this is going to be my path, and I'm going to go forward with this. When was that moment for you?
I think that moment for me, if I think back, I think there have been two moments. First, I started my career in management consulting for a number of different reasons. But I realized about 3 years in that while I enjoyed helping companies to improve, to optimize their business and move forward to what they could truly be, it wasn't filling my soul, right? I
Mm,
was working from sun up to dark, too dark to be up, to too dark to still be out. Um, but at the end of the day, as a consultant, you're typically not staying to see your project through to completion. You set up your strategy, you set up your client, and then you move on to the
mm,
next thing. And
mm,
that didn't work for me. If I was going to be putting 80, 90, 100 hours a week into something, I wanted to see the outcome. I wanted to know that I made an impact. So that first inflection point for me was leaving consulting and going to business school. I went to business school because I wanted to reinvent myself. Even though my application made it clear that I had a vision, I
mhm,
didn't, right? I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I knew that within business school, I'd have access both to teachers, advisors, professors, and my peers to help me learn from their journey and find where I might want to go next. And in the business school journey, I realized that it's possible to have career success by combining your professional skills and a personal passion. So I did a complete pivot and shifted from consulting to the entertainment industry. And I spent 15 years at Nickelodeon. And it started because I was a fan of the network.
I mean, this is how it works, right? I mean, did it could you feel it in your body and your soul, like when you shifted? Was it like a breath of fresh air for you? What was your experience when you went to business school and you had this remarkable group of people that are actually like mentoring you
Mhm.
into, like, look, no, if you're going to do this, do something that you're connected to. What was it like? What was that experience like to shift?
You know, I am a huge fan of Michelle Obama, and there was one quote in her autobiography, Becoming, that really stood out to me. And she talked about her life being a series of check boxes. You go to law school, then you work for a major firm, then you become a partner, and that's the path you should follow.
Mhm.
And she found her meaning. She became what she was truly meant to be when she got rid of the checklist. And that moment in business school, when I realized I didn't have to stay on a traditional corporate path, I didn't have to follow what my peers were doing, that was really that breakthrough moment for me where I felt like I came alive. I remember my first moment walking down the streets of Brooklyn after I'd moved from California, born and raised in California my entire life, other than undergrad. And I realized I had chosen my life. I had chosen me.
Mm.
For the first time, it wasn't about what the top ranked school was or what my family wanted me to do. You know, Brian, people from California, we don't think there's ever a reason to leave. And
Yeah, my
let's be
mother's
honest,
from California. I know.
it's kind of spring, early summer, year round. So I get them. Seasons are overrated.
Right.
But I wanted something more. I wanted something different. And walking down the streets of Brooklyn that day, I realized for the first time I had chosen my path. Yeah.
Powerful stuff.
Mm.
Powerful stuff. And you moved into a company, you were talking about Nickelodeon. You moved into a company that you already had a connection with. I remember in the interview that you did with our editor at large, D'Angelo Thompson, about that you had this love of animation.
Hmm.
And so you just moved into that and you were there for 15 years. Tell us a little bit about your experience there now, because this is your first entree into living from your heart, right? Living
Yes.
from that place that you're full of, like as you said, you're alive. Tell us a
Hmm.
little bit about that.
Yeah, I think my career path at Nickelodeon really followed that same model. Typically in consumer products, which is the industry that I started in at Nickelodeon, you are a specialist. You focus in toys or publishing or even entertainment products. Being a consultant by training, I can't turn that off. So I went in, I was hired for a certain role, director of video games, but I saw that we had space to grow in consumer electronics. Our top
Mm.
competitors were really doing well there. So I raised my hand. I said, hey, I'm going to get this budget done for you on the video game side. I'm always going to rock my core job, but let me see what I can build over here. And that went from literally nothing to a multi-million-dollar business. So throughout my career, I would be shifted into different industries that we were either under indexing upon or just really struggling. And I was brought in to turn those around. So I took that same mindset of this is what's working. This is how we have done it. But what should it be? And throughout the course of my career, I worked, my goodness, I work across every aisle of the store in our traditional retail business, from consumer packaged goods to home and beauty, video games, DVD. And then the last 5 years, as I saw the industry shifting, I moved to the digital side, working on our digital video and paid apps business. So that growth mindset, the is there more here, really guided my career, even though that wasn't the traditional path to success at Nickelodeon.
Wow. You know, this reminds me of a conversation that I had last week with Howard Caesar, this amazing speaker, amazing author. If you haven't seen it, guys, go watch it.
Mm.
And he talks about when you make this shift into being all that you are meant to be, everything that you've learned, everything that you've experienced just expands, and you're
Mm.
able to see things that you've never seen before or apply it in such a way that it's like you're saying, success after success after success. Not to say that there aren't challenges, but still there's this expansion. It sounds like that's what I'm hearing from you as you moved into Nickelodeon and you have all these skills, but now there's like supercharge, right? Does it feel that way for you during that time?
It definitely felt that way. It, the promotions came not as a true goal, but as an outcome of just following my vision, following what I felt could be done, not looking for recognition, although recognition is important, not looking for that reward, but just looking to, can I leave this place better than I found it? Can I leave this business better than it began? And the rewards follow.
Um, Now, I want to turn toward Google real
Mhm.
quick while we have a little bit of time during this segment. We'll talk more a little bit later.
Mhm.
You got to a point at Nickelodeon where, okay, I've grown here, I've learned what I needed to learn, I've done what I needed to do, and now it's time for me to shift and move into the next phase of my life. And I
Mhm.
say life because I think sometimes people try to separate, and it's really
No.
not separated, it's really just your life.
Yeah.
Tell us first how that shift came about and a little bit about what you do now.
Yeah. So that shift came again. I think it's really key that you mentioned work-life integration, because there were elements of both that drove me. I was doing well at Nickelodeon. I was offered another contract to stay on for an additional number of years. But when I looked at my path, I realized I wasn't growing anymore. I loved my job. I had an incredible team, but I wasn't gaining new skills or stretching myself in the way that I had in the past. And what I've learned about myself over the years is I need to grow, I need to contribute, I need to have an impact, and I need to feel valued. Those are the three core elements of what really drives me to be my
Mm,
best in whatever I'm doing. I have to have at least two out of the three in any role or any position that I'm in. Anything less than two, it means it's time to go. And at that point, it felt professionally, I wasn't really growing and expanding the way I wanted to. Secondly, I had my family. I'd had two sons at that point. Over the course of 15 years, my life went from being single and new to New York to being married, and then as a relatively new mother. And while I love New York will always be home, I wanted to raise my children at home, surrounded by my siblings, my parents, my extended family. So it was that combination of professional, wanting to grow, wanting to have a new challenge, and wanting to raise my children in my home environment. that really drove me to want to make the shift. And as I thought about, excuse me, the companies that would be interesting to me, I wanted to find a company that was building the future, a company that was pushing boundaries, and by connection would push me to do more. And that led me into the tech industry and Google.
Wow. Now tell us a little bit about the brand studio.
Mhm.
In the introduction, I kind of talked about how, responsible for, these things in crisis response and environment. What specifically does that mean and what's your role in that? Because it's actually very, very important. I mean, I've done my homework, so I know, but tell everyone else, what does that mean?
Sure. So in marketing, in primarily tech marketing, there's two different areas. There's product marketing, where you're driving a product or service, getting people to use it, try it, increase their commitment to it. And then there's brand marketing, where you're really focused on what does this company stand for? What are its values? What do you want your consumers to think about when they think about your brand? So I shifted from traditional product marketing in shopping, payments, and kids and family products at Google over into brand marketing, where my job was to be responsible for demonstrating Google's values in action across areas that were critically important in the world and where we felt we could make a unique impact based upon our core competencies. So in crisis response, my team is responsible for Google's product and philanthropic response to man-made and natural disasters. On sustainability, we focus on not only operating sustainably as a company, but in using our platform to empower both individuals and other companies to do the same. As well as my team works on Google.org marketing, Google's philanthropic arm, where we are giving 1% of our profits to NGOs and nonprofit organizations every year to help extend their mission. And I love this role because, again, combining the personal with the professional. When I came into Google, it was traditional product marketing roles, and I'm great at them. It's what I've done in my entire career. But about 3 years ago, I had a manager who asked me to write a personal development plan, and he asked me to be vulnerable, to be honest about what I really wanted in my career and in my life. So I took a risk and said, I don't care if I sell another product or service for the rest of my career. I've done that. I'm good at it, but I want my work to have meaning. I want my work to make a difference in people's lives and to be something that I can be proud of, that my children can be proud of. And by taking that risk to make a statement about what I wanted that didn't really exist within Google, I really could have written myself out of a job with that. But by taking that risk, we were able to find that intersection of my personal passion and a company need to really elevate our values so people could understand who we are in addition to what we do.
Wow. Well, I'm for one that says I'm glad you took the risk.
Me too.
Um, because again, this story, which is your life story, in terms of your willingness to kind of surrender to
Mm,
yourself, like, this is what I really want to do. I really want to do this. This is in my heart. This is where I live. That you decided to live from that place. And then this just all this new life, this new energy, this expansion of all the things that you wanted before, but now are real occurred, right?
mhm,
Wow,
mhm,
Sri, thank you so much for being here.
mhm.
Would you stick around? We're gonna have a. I'd love to, for you to talk with my other guest a little bit later. So will you stick around for us?
I will. I wouldn't go anywhere.
Excellent, excellent. All right, um, everyone, we're gonna take a quick short break. And then I'm going to bring my next guest out in just a second, who's another very, very inspirational person and who I love dearly. So stick tight and we'll be right back.
Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
And we're back. Born and raised in Detroit, my next guest, Cortney Hicks, knew early on in her life that her love of radio and TV would lead to a career in media. And it was nothing short of focused determination that helped push her dreams into reality in different top 10 markets around the country. And though that reality has blossomed, her career continues to expand to include TV appearances, live vocal performances, along with commercial print modeling and even acting. She has appeared as a guest in the off-Broadway production of The Color Purple and appeared in the Virginia Monologues and the Dr. Oz Show, and has had a principal role in the Discovery Channel series, Who the Bleep Did I Marry? She was the recipient of the CBS Mirror Mirror Award, was a FLOTUS press corps member for Michelle Obama's Let's Move campaign, and served as the spokesperson for the YWCA National Capital Area. Currently, Cortney can be seen weekdays as the morning news anchor on WFXG Fox54 in Augusta, Georgia. So with that, it is my pleasure to welcome to Soulivity Live my homegirl from the D, Cortney Hicks. How you doing, girl?
Hey B, what's happening?
I've been waiting for this.
I know.
I have been waiting for this.
I know you have. It's been a minute. I've been sharing live on. I was just as you were giving that illustrious introduction, as they say in the church. I was sharing on my
illustrious.
I know on my FB page. So I invite everybody to join me, Cortney Hicks, on my Facebook page and listen in.
All right. Yeah, so my Detroit people, you better ask some questions. I'm gonna be watching this feed. Cortney, same question that I asked Sherice. What's it like for you for this years? I mean, your journey started a little bit, after mine. I mean, I'm a little older than you.
When I was
say how old I am.
5 years old. You know what? I've never had a problem with letting people know. I've always, I don't know why, but I'm always the older one all the time. Even in my current situation, I'm working with a lot of young people, like right out of college, and it just doesn't bother me. I've just accepted it. So I'm 49. I'll be 50 next year. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, come on in. The water's fine. The water is fine.
Yeah. I'm looking forward. Get in here. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, man.
What's it like hearing about all these accomplishments that you've had along this journey? I mean, for me, even reading it, I've known you all these years, it's surreal. It's a little surreal. Feels good. I'm like, yeah, you're right. But what's it like for you when you hear about all that?
I actually had to really force myself to appreciate it more, because for me, I'm just living and I'm just attaining and gathering and accomplishing. And before you know it, you've stacked all these experiences. And, sometimes you just have to stop and go, whoa, that's pretty good. Yeah. But I've never really been, caught up or hung up on myself. And so, but you do have to take a minute to, appreciate yourself, because if you don't appreciate yourself, who else will? But it's never been a thing where I've never really had, there's always been like dreams and goals and desires, but it's never been a situation where I've had like, there's been a checklist, but it's never been a situation where I've done this now and I've done that and I've done this, and sometimes I don't hear those accomplishments until a situation like this. because I keep it moving, and I really have to actually police myself because you know, because my mind is always going. You know, I've always remained passionate, sometimes to a default, because everybody sometimes can't. You come into different spaces and atmospheres, everybody can't appreciate or receive that passion or on that level. And then that's a reminder that everybody can't come with you. But to hear the accomplishments, it's like, okay, I'm doing something. But it'd be crazy if I were to, you know, let you in on what's left to do as far as this, you know, as far as my life blueprint is concerned. I really haven't even, you know, gotten started. And that's why I'm so looking forward to this next half of my life, because, you know, I think at that halfway mark, at that 50th birthday, and let's be honest, you know, 50 years old now is not the same 50 years old from 20 years ago. You really getting started, and you are armed, if you will, with a lot, or at least you should be, with a lot more wisdom, experiences. And even if you do, you know, make a, I heard Sherice talking a lot about, you know, switching lanes and switching gears. And even when you do decide to do that at a much later date in your life, like I have, you're not starting over, you're starting from experience, and that makes the difference. But I often have to police myself, because as soon as I reach a goal, I'm already to the next. And I wasn't allowing myself to experience the level that I had just reached, because I was on to the next. I even had to stop here in Augusta. I haven't even been here a year yet. I'm already
like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing?
Well,
And it's like, okay, wait a minute. There's these flowers here. They got a fragrance. You need to like stop and smell the flowers, girl. You know, you talk about, you know, wisdom. Let's go back to Detroit. Let's go back to the D together.
Okay.
You're the oldest child in your family, right?
But
you're also the
doing
only
all your
girl. You're also the only girl.
I am.
What was, and it was 4 of you. What was it like being the eldest and the girl, and you got 3 brothers behind you? What was that like growing up?
It was cool to me. I didn't know anything different. Never really longed or yearned for a sister. It was just what I got. You know, and the one up under me, we're like what they call Irish twins. We're only like 17 months apart. So every time I would accomplish something or reach a goal, here comes this nut right behind me. Like, can I just have my own car? Can I not have to share the car for a minute? Can I still bask in my high school graduate before you come along? So we were like back to back. And for a while, we were the crew. We were the squad. There was just 4 of us. Mommy, daddy, Cortney, and Corey. Is his nickname. And then I don't know what my parents were on, what they were doing, what they were thinking. But 10 years later, here comes another one. And I was like 11 or so. They sent us away to summer camp. They used to send us away to summer camp for months at a time. So we'd be gone for a month. I come back, this little brown little monkey is this fat little chubby little monkey is sitting on the couch in a baby thing. I'm like, what is this? That's probably why I don't have any kids to this day, because I don't know where kids come. I don't know where they come. Because I came home and I had a little brother.
Stork or delivery man? What?
That's right. That's what it is. And then 10 years after that, we brought Ronnie into our home, and so yeah, all of the boys are 10 years apart. So what I love about that experience is to watch how each generation has come along, because you have a brother that's right with me as far as was a Gen X, and you have another brother who's technically a millennial, but he's an older millennial, and you know, he had them, you know, that last of the Mohicans when it comes to them kind of parents. And plus he had older brothers and sisters to model after. The last one, he's about 27, 28 now. It's just been interesting to see how he is a full millennial. However, because of the atmosphere and because of the influence and because I was like old enough to be his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so my father passed when he was about 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, there were times in his upbringing where my mom was just like, she didn't check out, but she was like, I can't. And so I would step in. And so it was just interesting to see, you know, that dynamic as a sister mom, and then impress upon him, if you will, what we had picked up, you know, from our generation, being 70s and 80s kids, and him being born in the 90s, and all he knows is this digital world and social media and stuff, and trying to really pull the best out of him still, with just this plethora of access. And let me tell you something, if I can go back and be a millennial, honey, you would be talking to the world's first trillionaire. I don't think they really understand the access that they have now. Back in our day when we were kids, we couldn't fathom talking to a kid over in China somewhere. Are you kidding me?
The sheer amount of information that children
sometimes
have
it's too
today.
much. Sometimes it's too much.
We had World Book.
That's right.
Had to read, had to flip some pages.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you find, have you ever talked to them about like your journey, like where you know, the things that you've done along your way? I mean, because it feels like, sister, mother, but more as they get older, it moves into almost like this mentoring role. Tell me a little bit about that.
I would say maybe with the last two, very much so. I'm close with all of them in different kind of ways. That middle one, he's about 30, he's about to be 38 this year. He actually went into radio himself. He has definitely gone way past and beyond what I was even able to accomplish in radio. We just kind of went different paths. He was also a radio personality, but then he went off into management and has even acquired vice president of programming status. So we talk all day, every day, and that's really just because that's our connection. However, the one under me and the youngest, they're very close. They share a lot of interest, and they talk all the time, kind of like me and the middle one does. But with the last two, I would say in some cases, a little bit more of a mothering mentor thing. But with that one right up under me, it's more of, we're very competitive. We love each other dearly, but we're very competitive. We went to 2 rival universities, and just, it was just a matter of not outdoing one another, but, we both had our own paths, and we had great parents who let us explore those paths, but it was always, it was just competitive. I guess maybe because the age, the ages were so close. And now it's turned more into, really just really good friends. I mean, I would have to say, I have good girlfriends and I have my sister circle, don't get me wrong, but I would say my brothers are my besties. Those are my boys. That's my go-to team. Especially in my transitions professionally, they have been extremely supportive. And so, it's a combination, of a lot of different things. I think with the passing of our mom, about 4 years ago, maybe there's a little bit more, not necessarily mothering, but I think because not only do I look a lot like her, but I sound like her. I think there's just some sort of kind of home base or foundation or reassurance, because we talk a lot more. And I even noticed that in other family members, like my grandmother, we always talked, but my mom's mom, she just was calling me while I was sitting listening to you and Sherice. She knows how, she's 94, bless her heart, and she knows how to FaceTime now. So honey, she will call you any moment of the time of the day. I think that has a lot to do with it. It's just a reminder of that connection and family, member that we lost. So I think that's what I know that has become a part of my new role in my family, because I feel like, we're all products of her as far as being her children, but as far as just the embodiment of her and her look, her sound, her attitude, I know that crown has been placed on my head, and I wear it proudly. I really do.
Well, you should. Just describing what these young men are doing. your
Oh, they're
parents.
dope. Can I shout out the other one? The one right up
Yeah, go
under me.
for, you got to do the shout out to the other one.
In the midst of a pandemic, how does brother land a life? Well, he left one dope situation, but he felt like his time was up there. And before he left, he did get manager of the world, something, director, manager, sales, something, manager. And then he transitioned into health and life sciences director from Microsoft. Like who in the midst of this pandemic, and they wanted him so bad. They were like, we're going to prove to you we want you. We're going to set you up. I'm not going to tell all his business, but
see,
man. So I
glad
like
you
to
did
really
the shout out.
brag on them. I like
Yeah, I'm glad you did the shout out. And my brothers.
I'm so proud of them.
Keep,
yeah. Now the other one, on the other hand, he was with a broadcasting house. He got caught up in the COVID-19 cutbacks. But within 6 months, he took this station from, I don't even think they were in the top 10, to number 2. He also went from just a programming director, because they were so in awe of his skill set, from there to VP of programming.
Yeah.
And then they recently let him go. But a day after he got let go, all of the other competitors were like, yo. And so he's on track to recover, and even in this new normal as well. And then the baby boy, he's been in the mortgage industry since he graduated from college about 3 years ago. He's already been assigned to management and has a team up under him. So I'm big on my bros. I like bragging on them. And as you can see, talking about them a lot more than myself.
Oh no, we're gonna get in your business.
Spotlight away from me.
We're gonna get in your business. But the story and the through line, it just like what Sherice was talking about, and we're gonna bring her back in a few after I get in your business. All of you made a conscious decision. This is I'm putting my flag in the ground. This is where I live. This is what I love. I'm going to follow that. And there's this expansion that happens. You're in the flow. It's like Oprah says, you're in the flow, and all this stuff happens. And it doesn't matter what's going on around you, COVID, the Great Recession. It doesn't matter. The door opens because you're in flow, and you just kind of flow through this, right?
Yeah, but I think it's safe to say, on behalf of all my brothers, Corey, Jay, and Ronnie, that we're really riding on the legacy and the foundation of our parents. Sometimes I can just be brought to tears because I really, at the time, didn't really realize how fortunate we were and what we were afforded. Yeah. We weren't super rich. I would say middle class, maybe even upper in some senses, because of when I think back on some of the luxuries, of course. And in high school, sometimes the playing field is a little leveled. But you go to college, these big universities, and you meet people from all walks of life, and it serves as a mirror and a reflection. Like, wow, I had it good. I remember my daddy giving me some money, cash, to go pay for college, and I remember just leaving it on the bed. like I think back, it was about $5,000. I just think back to what I view now as being a little careless and being a little naive. And if I could go back, I just really wish I knew in those moments how fortunate I was. So we really are really riding on that legacy, riding on that foundation. I think what makes your statement, if I have to, if I label it as us doing anything amazing, it's we've been able to continue to progress through such devastating losses. Like I said, I lost my dad early on. He was only 52. I didn't even realize how young he was, because I'm about 50 now. I'm like, he was a baby. But I do believe hindsight, usually it should be 2020. I do believe he finished what he set to do in that dimension, and it was time for him to move on, regardless of his age. We lost my mom about 4 years ago. She was 70. It was quick. She was diagnosed in April of 2015 and passed April of 2016. So we were like, and we had to process as we went along, because, we still had our careers to tend to. My little brother was finishing up college. So I think if you want to label anything amazing, I think it would be just the tenacity, the strength, and just that foundation that they left us with, that we were able to really pull on to pull us through.
Yeah, and again, these are conscious decisions, right? We have this foundation, we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, right? I mean, as we talk about a lot of times, and we still have to make the choice to do what we want to do with our lives. And all of you said, yeah, I'm going to do this. I've got the support, I've got the legacy, I've got the strength, I've got the tools. You may not recognize it immediately, but it sounds like along the way, you're like, wait a minute now, shoot. Like you said in college, I got it pretty damn good. Let me utilize this. Before I bring Sherice back in, you, when was the moment that you knew radio and TV was where you wanted to be?
Oh, probably I might have been about 5 or 6. I was always
Wow. I never
fluffy, chatty little child. I mean, to the point where my dad, he would play a game with me, and I tell this a lot. He would say, "Courtney, let's play the be quiet game." I give you a quarter. Back in the day, it's in the early 70s, a quarter was a lot of money for a baby. I'll give you, $1 a quarter if you just be quiet for 5 minutes, maybe, so he can read the paper or watch television. And my little self, I'd be like, "But Daddy, if I stay quiet, that means I'm not gonna be able to talk to you," which was his whole point. Sanford and Son, the sitcom Sanford and Son, I remember it would come on, and I would call it the Dunna Dunna song. And while it was on, my daddy loved that show. I would just be dancing in front of the TV, putting on a show when the theme song came on. And so it was just little things like that, that I just knew I needed to be. We would go on vacation. My daddy took us to New York, and I remember going to see the Wiz. This is back when Stephanie Mills, she was like a teenager, the for real Wiz on Broadway, and just walking down the streets of New York, and just every time my mother would snap a picture, all you would do is just see me just doing my thing. So I knew early on that there was something there. However, I kind of stumbled. I always wanted to do TV. I wasn't as confident enough to do TV, and then I kind of stumbled into radio, which set the foundation, for TV, years and years later. But I think that seed has been that was a godly thing, maybe some sort of agreement that I made before I came into this world, to be some sort of messenger. And it just has shown up as a radio and radio personality, and now a news anchor. So yeah.
You do know that every once in a while I'll go to Fox54's website, and I'll click that about button and that button, just to see you there.
Oh, very sweet. It is.
It's again surreal. Like
it is. I've had it's still surreal. It's still very much framed in surrealness. I've had some real moments in it where I'm like, what in the hell did I do?
Right. Right.
How did I end up? And a lot of that has to do with just when you are a little older, when you are carrying a lot more, I don't necessarily mean baggage, but when you are bringing a lot more life to situations, it could just be, challenging sometimes, and a little tiring to just uproot, and move. And even though I've been doing that a lot in my career, let's be honest, I'm still no spring chicken. And let me tell you, this move I went from Charlotte back home to Detroit, and that was supposed to happen because I needed a cocooning moment. That was my wilderness. That was my gestation period where I, was taking off, certain masks and unlayering and things, and allowing God to really do what he needed to do with and for and through me. So he can trust me in a new position like that. So I needed Detroit, but moving from Detroit to Augusta, it wore me out. I was tired. And I was like, okay, God, listen, you know. And so, although I don't want to rush myself through this experience here, when there does come a time to move on, the next move has to be the best move, in the sense that that's got to be it. You know,
Right.
even if there's room for me to grow as far as the next position is concerned,
Right.
it's got to be where I'm gonna be, because I need to put down some roots. I've only owned one home in my whole little life.
Mhm.
I need to purchase a home, and hopefully by that time there's a significant other. He will be very much involved in that decision as to where, and that's gonna be it. I can't do this no more, and I especially can't do it by myself. It's a wrap. It's a
Well,
wrap on that. So
from your lips to God's
I'm gonna
ears.
I'm gonna make Augusta very beautiful. Wow, you know, a very beautiful experience, because it
Yeah.
is. It's a blessing. It's a dream come true. And let me tell you,
We're gonna bring Sherice Torres back in on this conversation so we can do some real talk for a few minutes. As
it,
Courtney was talking about her childhood, and this one's for you, Sharice, and the effect that her parents had on the trajectory of their lives, what resonates with you about that with your own children?
Yeah. So, you know, with my parents, they believed in me and believed in dreams that I had that were bigger than their vision
Mm,
for reality.
mm,
So I remember I had a guidance counselor in high school. When I came to high school, she said, "Hey, this course schedule is too challenging. I'm going to switch you into some different classes." When I came home really down, my father said, "Well, what's wrong?" I said, "Oh, well, so and so said I can't take these because it's too hard." He said, "Well, did you take the prerequisites for those classes?" "Yes."
mhm.
"Do you want to take those classes?" "Yes." "Do you need them to go to college?" "Yes." "Well, then don't worry about what she said. You do what you need to do."
Wow.
And that message, that believing in me and kind of bucking the tradition of respecting your elders, quite frankly, changed the trajectory of my life. And I try to pass that on to my children to help them understand that you are here to be kind and to help others. But at the end of the day, no one is responsible for your life but you. So
Mm,
you make choices that will get you closer to where you want to be.
wow.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
good.
I'm gonna let that just sit for a minute
Mhm.
because
Nate.
that's wisdom of the ages, right?
Mm.
Nobody's responsible for your success except you.
Yeah.
Um, Courtney, when you were in Detroit,
Yeah.
and because Sharice was talking about the mentorship that she got in college.
Yes.
You know where I'm going. You were on the legendary as a co-host, Mason and Company.
Oh,
Come on
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
That was one probably mentoring experience. Who were some of the other mentors that came into your life
Oh
during that
man.
period?
So many. You know, you have so many. And I think they were even mentors and didn't know it. They were mentors and I didn't even know them. They were
Mm,
simply mentors because I always had an affinity for, you know, radio and television. And so, you know, generationally, I can go through who I listened to before I even knew that I was going to go in that direction.
mhm.
You know, whether it be Detroit, Chicago, you know, I spent a lot of time. I spent about 12 years in Chicago. So that whole generation, a lot of people don't know, you know, a guy by the name of, bless his soul, Doug Banks. He's out of Detroit, but he made a name for himself in Chicago.
Yeah.
You know, I was in Chicago at the time when Tom Joyner was still the fly jock. So he was still
Yep.
physically in Chicago. He'd do mornings, get on the plane and go to Dallas. So I've had those kind of experiences. I was in Chicago when they were trying to mold and groom Steve Harvey as a new morning show host. So you know, I've definitely had some hand-on mentors, but I think I've just also been privy or been fortunate enough to kind of see people, you know, in their evolution, which have become more mentoring moments that I can sort of tap into and remember their process.
Mhm.
But I still have mentors to this day, and moving into this newsroom lane, this anchor lane, some of my girlfriends who either have been news anchors or are currently news anchors, they have become the mentors. So that's a real interesting dynamic, because they're the girlfriend, and then some phone calls is like, look here, how do I manage this? How do I maintain this? What is this all about? So just a plethora of mentors. And I think one of my brothers was just talking about this. You got to keep the newness and the hotness next to you. And most times it's those young folks, even though they might get on your nerves. And so a lot of young people, even though they may perceive me as being their mentor, they are my mentors in the sense that, they keep you plugged in. Because we know this world, and even Sherice would know, as far as the world of technology, it just moves this. Sometimes, because I'm so on something else, I'll miss it. But when you got a nice pack of young people around you, they'll keep you up on it now.
Like whippersnappers, like on you. Go ahead.
I read something on social media that said, if you do not have a mentor under the age of 30, you're missing out.
Come on.
Right? Because usually people think a mentor is someone whose path you are following, someone who's done it before. No, you need to have a beginner's mind. You need to be open to things have changed, and maybe I should look at things differently. So I completely agree with that, Cortney.
Absolutely. That's golden right
come
there.
in and they see this stuff, especially with the amount that Cortney, you and I were just talking, the sheer amount of information that's available now to them at a nanosecond. They can innovate and say, wait, well, we could connect all this stuff, and and it's this fresh young mind's perspective of the world that all of us need to maintain. And
you got to keep them close. And even if you don't understand it, because sometimes I look at them like, what? Most times I can't even understand them, and don't let them, write something for you or try to express something, in a letter or something, because they write like they talk. Yes. But I get that, and even though there might be a challenge or something might be lost in translation, it is still how they communicate, and you just want to be a part of that. On both sides, whether they're looking up to you or you're looking to them, because I've always felt like even in our lifetime, there was a point where we were, Generation X was like how we're looking at millennials, they were looking at us like that. The baby boomers, and so on and so forth. So I think it's important to keep them close to you, for sure. I agree. Yeah.
I'd like, for both of you ladies, I'd like to ask you this question, because and this question revolves around practicum, right? I always want to leave a nugget of something with people who may be struggling right now, right? I mean, they have a job that they don't like, they're unhappy in their own skin, and they're listening to this and they're like, that makes sense, and I can intellectually understand it, but how do I get started? What's that first move? Sherice, for you, what would be your words or thoughts to this person?
I would say this is a time where the world has literally taken a pause. This is a time for you to take a pause and really think about, what does success look like to me? So often we are focused on what the world or our parents or a mentor says we should do. When you're in a moment, whether it's because things have slowed down at your job or you've unfortunately lost your job, most of us have a little more time on our hands, if only from not having a morning commute, to think through, what does success look like for me? So I'd say write that down. Be thoughtful about it. It doesn't have to be a fancy personal mission statement, but if you don't know what you're working towards, how will you know when you get there? Wow. So I think this is a big moment to really reconsider, what does success mean for me, and how can I reorder my life to ensure that I'm pointing in that direction in each, or at least most, of the decisions I make.
Wow, thank you for that. And how about you, Cortney?
That's good. And I would just piggyback off of that. I was just writing a post on Instagram. I haven't hit post just yet, share just yet, but it was talking about how we are in, an unprecedented time of stillness. And especially for our community, the Black community, we have no choice really but to embrace that. Even in the midst of the, job losses, the small business, revenue losses, and most tragic, the loss of life, we have to stay still in this moment. It's detrimental to our livelihood, but there's still so much so many blessings still in the stillness, because I feel that that's a way to rebalance yourself, to recalibrate, recenter yourself, listen to the messages, plug in. And as Sherice was saying, and I don't mean to go churchy on you, but in the book of Habakkuk, it talks about writing down the vision so you know it for yourself, so you can go out and you can share it and tell it and live it and bring it into your atmosphere. And this very well feels like a time in our lives when now more than ever, we really should be considering these type of new ways and methods and thinking and doing. People keep hollering about getting back to normal, baby. Let me tell you something. One of the best posts I've seen during this pandemic is we don't need to go back to normal, because obviously normal wasn't working. And exactly. even in this new normal, you're going to have, because things are so uncertain, you're going to have to continue to adjust the newness of the new normal, because we just don't know. And so that is calling for us to be very flexible and pliable and fluid. And that's very uncomfortable with some people, but get with it, embrace it. You really don't have a choice, or you're going to be left behind in a whole different kind of way nowadays.
Right. Wow. Okay, my first thing is going to be thank you. Thank you, my amazing queens, for coming on and sharing your wisdom, your love, your support, all of it, your inspiration. Secondly, you both are coming back. I'm declaring that now.
I take it.
I'll make sure that there's a premium coffee sent to where you are, because it's a little.
I know. Sherice, she's out of California, y'all, and it's like 2 a.m. in California.
Yeah, no. Bravo, my early.
But we're good. It was worth it. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Thank you for the platform, Brian. Thank you for all that you do to help people live their best lives. This is extraordinary.
Oh, thank you so much. This is what I need to do, what I love to do, what I was born to do. And
it's your lane. It's your lane, baby.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Listen, everybody. I want to thank you for coming out. But before we go, I just want to let you guys know that next Saturday we got even more inspiration for you, and the two of y'all better be watching too, because I'm gonna check on you. We're doing a very special Soulivity Live. It's actually a retrospective of different interviews that we've had over the years. This is our 3rd year doing this. And we're going to do some features from actor, model, producer Garcelle Beauvais, Geneva Carr from the TV series Bull. The noted author Reza Eslan is also featured in it, and we got a whole bunch of other people. So,
all right, B, get it. Don't stop. Get it.
Next week, we're gonna have this inspiration for you. So please come and watch and get inspired to live your best lives today with purpose, passion, and living. Also, tomorrow and every day, we got new programming on the show, new live programming. Tomorrow we've got morning yoga with Michaela at 12 noon. We got the style brunch at 4 o'clock, and then my peoples, as we say in Detroit, live with Jesse and Melva. Amazing motivational experts have great advice for you. So tune in tomorrow. Check our website, soulivity.com, for even more information. So on behalf of myself, Cortney, and Sherice, thank you for being here. Oh, what an amazing day. Go make it even more amazing. And I'm going to say goodbye and have a great day with passion, purpose, and living. See you later, guys.
Bye, Sherice. Nice meeting you.
Bye, Cortney.